Good morning, students. Today we started with our third alternative center of power, and that is China. So, in this topic, we studied about the rise of Chinese economy, or we can say that what are the factors that led to the rise of Chinese economy. This question come in your exam either in 4 marks or 6 marks, and it is an important question. So this from this topic one question will come. What are the factors that led to the rise of Chinese economy, or what are the factors that contribute towards the growth of Chinese economy? So let's start. We all know that China is a fast growing economic power. We all know that China is the most populous nation of this world, and it has the fastest growing economy, and it is said that if China grows like this, then it must overtake the United States by 2040. So the China is the most populous nation of the world. It has the fastest growing economy, and it is projected to overtake the United States. Means the China might overtake the United States if it's rapidly growing like this by 2040. And why? Because of its strength. What strength? The strength of its economy together with other factors such as population. We all know China is the most populous country in the world. First populous country is China, and the China, its economy is much better because of factors like high population, its land mass, its resources, and political influence. So China is the most populous nation of the world. Apart from the population, it has huge land mass, it has huge resources, and its political influence is wide. So we am talking about the rise of Chinese economy. This concept before 1970s, the period before 1970, it means the China before 1970. So at that time, even now also, China is the most population nation of the world, and the strength of its economy lies on other factors such as population, land mass, resources, and political influence. At that time, the leader was Mao. So, under the leadership of Mao, its economy was based on the Soviet model. Earlier, we studied up in about lesson second about Soviet model. And Soviet Union, it based on their ideology of socialism and communism, where everything is under the control of state government. So under the leadership of Mao, China also, it's based its economy on which model? Soviet model. That is, everything is under the control of state government. This communist China close to distance itself from capitalist world. It means that China was not in favor of joining with the capitalist world. Capitalist world means United States. So the Chinese economy before 1970, it was based on which model? Soviet model. This model allowed China to use its resources to establish the foundation of industrial economy. So this model allowed China, which model? Socialist model, where everything is under the control of state, to use its own resources and make its own products for the development of their industries. Employment and social welfare was assured to all citizens. So this is the positive aspect of the China's economy before 1970, that employment was provided to everybody and social welfare was taken care of all the citizens. China moved ahead of most developing countries in educating its citizens. Even on literacy rate, we can say that China is higher, and it also ensured better health for them. So these are basically the positive aspects, that employment was there, healthcare was there, education was there. The economy also grew at a respective rate of 5 to 6% per year. So the economy also grew at what rate? 5 to 6% per year. But as we can say that China is a huge populous country, so that much growth is not sufficient for them. It means for a huge population country like China, the growth of economy should be higher than 5 to 6%. So this is the negative aspect. On annual growth of 2 to 3% in population meant that economic growth was insufficient to meet the needs of the growing population. So this growth was not sufficient to meet the needs of its citizens. Agricultural production was also not sufficient to generate surplus food for the industry. Its international trade was minimal. Its international trade of China, it was also very minimal. Per capita income was very low. So the above were the positive points and the below were the negative points of the China economy. Clear? Now we discuss China after 1970. Previously we discussed the economy of China before 1970 under the leadership of Mao. Now I am discussing about the economic growth of China after 1970. China wanted to make some major policy decisions. Why? Because China wanted to transform China's stagnant and planned economy. Stagnant means steri hui, no change in the economy. So China wanted to make some major policy decisions in 1970s. Why? To transform its planned economy into the market economy and to generate economic growth as well as increase in the well-being of Chinese citizens. So the China wanted to make some major policy decisions in the year 1970, and that major policy decision, this is the most important part. This part will come in your exam for 4-mark or 6-mark question. That is, what are the major reasons for the growth of Chinese economy? The first one is that end of isolation. Isolation means to cut off from the society, to remain aloof. So China basically ended its isolation. In which year? In 1972. So China ended its political and economic isolation and established their relations with the United States in 1972. So end of isolation is the first important point. That is, China ended its isolation and established its relation with the United States in which year? In 1972. Then the second factor is 4 areas of modernization. 4 areas of modernization means China make modernization in the 4 areas. At that time the premier of China was Zhou Enlai. Zhou Enlai, he proposed 4 modernization in the field of agriculture, in the field of industry, in the field of science and technology, in the field of military. In which year? In 1973. So this is the second important factor, 4 areas of modernization. In which area? Agriculture, industry, science and technology, military, in the year 1973. Now the third important factor is open door policy. By 1978, Deng Xiaoping. Who announced the open door policy? Deng Xiaoping. In which year? 1978. Announced the open door policy and economic reforms in China. The policy was to generate higher productivity by investments from abroad. So the third major factor was the open door policy. It was announced by Deng Xiaoping in which year? In 1978. Why? This policy helps China to generate higher productivity by investments from abroad. And the fourth one is privatization. China privatized the agriculture as well as industry. The agriculture was privatized in the year 1982 and industry was privatized in the year 1998. Trade barriers were also eliminated only in special economic zones where foreign investors could set up enterprises. So this question come in the 4 marks. Major it comes in the 4 marks. Sometimes may it come also in 6 marks. What are the major factors that led to the contribution of Chinese economy? So you have to write end of isolation, 4 areas of modernization, open door policy and privatization. Now come to the positive consequences. Positive consequences of these major reforms led to privatization of agriculture. In which year? 1982. So the privatization of agriculture in 1982 led to a remarkable rise in the agricultural production and rural income. High personal savings in the rural economy led to the exponential growth in rural industry. So the privatization of agriculture led to the rise in agriculture production as well as in the rural industry. Chinese economy, both in agriculture and industry, it grew at a faster rate. China has become the most important destinations for FDI. FDI means foreign direct investments anywhere in the world. Rise in foreign trade. How rise in foreign trade? Because of its open door policy. Now China was able to invest in other countries. So these are the positive consequences. Positive consequences of what? About the major policy decisions that were taken by the China in the year 1970. Now come to the negative consequences. Negative consequences. Now, not all section of Chinese population have benefited from these reforms. It means that not every section of Chinese population is benefited from these reforms. Unemployment has risen in China with nearly 100 million people looking for jobs. So first negative consequences was unemployment. Second, female employment and the conditions of work, they are very bad as in Europe in 18th and 19th century. So first negative consequences was unemployment. Second, the female employment and the bad working conditions. Third, environmental degradation and corruption. It is also increased besides the rise in economic inequality between rural and urban residents. So these are the negative consequences of the decisions, major policy decisions that were taken in China in the year 1970. Now come to India and China relations. India and China. We all know India and China both are the populous countries of the world. They both have limited political and cultural interaction between them. After independence, you must know about the slogan Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. After independence, this slogan became very popular for both India and China. Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. Dalai Lama, he sought refuge in Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh in 1959 after Chinese military intervention in Tibet. Basically, China wanted to invade Tibet, in which year in 1959, and Dalai Lama, he got a refuge in Dharamshala in India, in which year in 1959, and China didn't like it that India gave support or refuge to Dalai Lama. At that time, thousands of Tibetan refugees, they also settled in northwestern India. China also accused India of expansionism in Tibet. Border conflict led to war in 1962. China and India had a war in the year 1962. All these factors led to the war between China and India. Relations were downgraded until mid 1970s. So the relationship between India and China were not good. By mid 1970s, China's policies was more pragmatic and less ideological. There was no ideology in the China's policy. In 1981, series of talks were started to resolve issues between India and China. The basic conflict between India and China were over two regions, that were Aksai Chin region and Tibet. In western sector, there was Aksai Chin region. It has been administered by China since 1962. So one of the main cause of Sino-India border conflict was India's discovery of road that China built through the region. And the second conflict between India and China was in the eastern sector. In the eastern sector, China claims portion of Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh as South Tibet and does not recognize the McMahon line. So there was a conflict between India and China over the two major issues, that were Aksai Chin and second one the Tibet, Arunachal Pradesh, Indian state Arunachal Pradesh and a part of it as South Tibet. So in the western sector the conflict was because of Aksai Chin, and the eastern sector the conflict between India and China was because of Tibet, a part of Arunachal Pradesh as South Tibet, because China doesn't want to recognize the McMahon line. McMahon line is basically the boundary line between the Tibet region of China and the northeast region of India, a line that divides the India and China, Tibet region of China and northeast region of India, and this part was divided by the McMahon line. I hope you must understand now the factors that led to the growth of Chinese economy. So India and China relations started improvised during 1988, or I can say after 1980s, when Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, he visited China in the year 1988. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi visited China in which year? In 1988. Both countries took initiative to maintain peace on the border. They both signed agreement on cultural exchanges. So the relationship between India and China start improving in mid 1980s when Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi he visited China, and they both countries signed agreement on cultural exchanges. Now I let us tell you about the brief visits of our prime ministers in China or Chinese premier in India. Now Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping he receives Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1988 in Beijing. As I told you earlier, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi he visited China in the year 1988 and he was received by Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping. Later, Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao he visited New Delhi in the year 2005 and he was received by Indian Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Then again in 2015, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi he visited China in the year 2015 and he was received by Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. So these are basically the brief visits which are not mentioned in the NCERT book. So I just want to tell you about some brief visits. These are also major landmarks that are not in your NCERT book but you should know. In the year 1950, there were differences on Chinese takeover of Tibet, means the conflict between India and China because of takeover of Tibet, and that the Tibet was taken over by China. That is why Dalai Lama he sought refuge in India. In 1954, an peace agreement was signed between India and China, and that peace agreement was known as Panchsheel Agreement. In the year 1962, there was a war between India and China because of Aksai Chin region. Then in 1981, talks started between the India and China regarding the border issues. In 1988, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi visited to China to improve its relation. Then in 1992, the trade was increased because of liberalization of Indian economy. Then in 2003, China recognized Indian sovereignty over Sikkim. Then in 2005, Wen Jiabao he visited New Delhi and supported strategic partnership on peace and security. So these are the basic major landmarks. It is not given in your NCERT book. I just wanted to tell you, you must know about this. So I hope you must understand or the concept of rise of Chinese economy became clear in your mind. If some query is there, then do let me know. I will clear it. Now the last one is recent development in Indo-China relations. The recent developments in the year 2009, China and India witnessed frequent high-level interactions. So in 2009, there is a friendly relationship between India and China and having high interaction among them. Both the countries have agreed to cooperate with each other, and India and China also adopted similar policies in international economic institutions like the World Trade Organization. In the Copenhagen Climate Change Summit that was held in which year 2009, India and China opposed legal binding emission targets for developing nations. So this summit was regarding the environmental degradations. At that time, India and China they opposed this summit because they believed that the emission that was developed by the developed countries are more than the developing nations. Increasing transportation and communication links, common economic interest, and global concerns should help to establish a more positive and sound relationship between the two most populous countries of the world. Some part of it is not mentioned in your NCERT, but I just wanted to know you about all these concepts. So major question that come in your exam was that what are the factors that led to the rise of Chinese economy. So at that time that question may come for the 4 marks or 6 marks, and that part you mention about that 4 points. That one is open door policy, end of isolation, 4 areas of modernization and privatization. This part is more important and this part will come in your exam for 4 marks or 6 marks. I hope you understand the third part, the third alternative center of power, and that one is China. Thank you.